I'm sure that you've been asked this a lot, but you are like the first female superbike rider in Saudi, and I know firsthand, obviously, how much you love cars. We met at the Royal Automobile Club in London a few years back. So I want to hear from your perspective, what has been the reality of women not being allowed to drive in Saudi up until recently? Did you agree with it growing up? Did you understand why that was the case? And did it hinder you from actually being able to pursue and discover what you love in your own country?
You know, so my case is a bit. So my view is when I was here till I was 14, and then I went to boarding school, and then I stayed in London for uni, and I officially came back when I was about 27. The first year I came back when I was 27, I got a job at a school, and I used to be driven there and back. Um, I didn't feel contained or frustrated because I had access to a car and somebody to drive it whenever I wanted. So I never felt like something was limiting me because it's what I knew. I had been born here uh, without women driving, and the human mind just adapts. You just adapt, and if you have no reference, it's much easier to do that. It wasn't that I used to be able to drive and it was taken away and then given back. That wasn't the case. It was just not done, and I had access to a car that could take me whenever and wherever. So I can't speak for somebody who didn't have that
Mm.
access. I can speak only for myself, which I recognize as a privileged situation. So, but that being said, when we were given the right to drive and I did get my license, I thought that it wasn't going to make a big difference because we did. It made a huge difference, just psychologically, you being in the car and going somewhere that no one knows where you're going. I mean, it doesn't have to be a secret. You're probably just going to the pharmacy, but it gives you that ownership that you don't have, no one has to know. Even the person who used to drive me, I mean, he was a nice guy, but he knew everything where I was going all the time. And it wasn't in an authoritative way. It was just, he just knew because he was taking me. So when no one knew, you do get this sense of independence that you don't get otherwise. And that opened a lot of doors, not just in terms of like anything physical, but just mentally, you just see things differently when you have that sort of personal freedom and space. So it must have changed the psychology of people quite a bit. As I said, I never struggled or suffered in terms of mobility, but I did feel a psychological shift
Mm.
at being able to go places alone. Um, Obviously practically speaking as well, because before, when someone else was driving me, I would take him into consideration. He doesn't want to be in the car all day waiting for me to pick up things left, right, and center. I like to get up at 6 a.m. to go to the gym. Maybe that wouldn't suit it's but now that I'm alone and independent, I can go whenever, however, and for however long. So that was another element that also opened doors for me, instead of having to accommodate someone else's basic schedule just out of courtesy.
Mm.
It does make it for sure.
Listen to more insights on the Mission Makers podcast through Apple, Spotify, and YouTube.